Good morning and welcome to this joint RareX Kincora investor webinar. Thanks for joining us. I'm Paul Armstrong from Reko Diq. Reko Diq is delighted to provide you with this opportunity to hear directly from those driving two of the most eagerly exploration programs in Australia. Today we will hear a presentation from Kincora. This will focus on the Trundle Copper-Gold Porphyry Project in New South Wales. This presentation will feature Kincora President and Chief Executive Sam Spring, Chairman Cameron McRae, President of Exploration Peter Lehman, and Kincora Technical Director John Holliday. I'm advised that John and Peter can be heard, but they won't be seen. They have their cameras off, but their voices are on, I'm sure. The presentation from Kincora will then be followed by a presentation from RareX Executive Director Jeremy Robinson. Jeremy will provide a brief presentation on the company's Cummins Range Rare Earths Project in Western Australia. A reminder, we will happily take questions. Please put them into the Q&A area on your screen and we'll address the questions when all the presentations have concluded. I will now hand the floor to Sam Spring.
Thank you, Paul, for the introduction and the opportunity today to present Kincora. We'll run through a shorter version of a presentation. The full version will be made available later this afternoon with further details than the summary that you see here today. So Kincora, we're focused on large-scale porphyry discoveries and we'll give you a bit of an update on where we're at, the usual forward-looking disclaimers. So what is Kincora? We've got strategic positions in Australia and Mongolia's world-class gold-rich copper porphyry belts, recently pivoting into the Lachlan Fold Belt of New South Wales, and we'll run through that in further details. We've got a team with an exceptional track record of Tier 1 discoveries, knowledge of the belts that we operate in and experience in the belts that we operate in that are owners. We're shareholders with about 9% of the company, so there's skin in the game and we're aligned. Targets, any exploration company is judged on the targets that we've got, and the sweet spot for a junior is being in that target testing stage where if you make a discovery you get a multiple re-rate. We're currently drilling the only brownfield project held by a listed junior in Australia's foremost porphyry belt, the Trundle Project, with an attractive pipeline of other ground that will work in the Lachlan Fold Belt in the Macquarie Arc. So we'll go through this in a fair bit of detail during this presentation, but we've kicked off the 6-hole program announcing the visual results for the second hole at the Macquarie Arc target. The first target, Trundle Park, we had significant skarn intervals. Macquarie Arc, we're happy to announce today we've got some significant porphyry intervals. Going into the corporate side of things, listed in Canada on the Venture Exchange with the ticker KCC, about 2.9 million cash in the bank, 18 million market cap Canadian at the moment, with 155 million shares outstanding, and a very strong institutional register. I guess a key point with looking for porphyries is they take time, they're relatively capital intensive, so we've looked to get the corporate side of the business to reflect that with a good bunch of institutions there, over 50% of the register, board and management, as mentioned, 9% of the company, RareX having come in with a bit over 9% of the company, having done the deal that we have in the Lachlan Fold Belt, with a relatively small free float. So I guess the foundations are there for success, both with the board, management and shareholder registry. And with that, I'll hand over to Chairman Cameron McRae, who will give a bit of a rundown on who the team is.
An exceptional track record of Tier 1 discoveries, knowledge and experience of the belts that we operate in, and with a board and management team that have skin in the game through equity ownership. For an exploration company to be credible to potential investors, for an exploration company to be successful, you need to be credible and persistent over time. because success rarely occurs overnight. We need to be credible to potential investors and believed in by our existing shareholders. And the team also needs to have a track record of discovery and relevant experience to the task at hand, and that's what I'll talk to now. The technical team is chaired by John Holliday, who is also a board member. The technical committee comprises John, Peter Lehman, and Sam Spring. John is the lead co-discoverer of Newcrest's Cadia complex, now Australia's largest Tier 1 porphyry copper-gold operation. John lives outside Orange in New South Wales and has an excellent hands-on understanding of the geology of New South Wales and the Lachlan Fold Belt and the historical exploration of Kincora's New South Wales portfolio. Peter Lehman joined Kincora in 2016 after a distinguished 28-year career with BHP Exploration and then with Panost. Peter has led exploration and project generation programs in 5 continents and is credited with multiple copper-gold discoveries, most notably the Tier 1 Reko Diq discovery. Sam moved into the exploration mining space 14 years ago, initially as a mining analyst, and has been with Kincora for 8 years, most of that time as CEO. Sam is a hands-on leader. He's a great communicator and networker and a key contributor to the technical committee. The technical team is also complemented by 2 senior Mongolian geologists, Solomon and Molor, who in these COVID-impacted times are providing back-office support to the Australian exploration work. Our key advising geophysicist is Barry DeWitt, who was chief geophysicist for both BHP, Ivanhoe and HPX exploration. Barry also worked on the Trundle Project when HPX had an earn-in underway and gave input to the Typhoon program that was run over the property. And we have recently added Dr. Jeff Vassilo to the register. Jeff has strong knowledge of the KCC RareX properties through his work at Clancy Exploration and in general through the Lachlan Fold Belt. Our board also includes a gentleman by the name of Lewis Marks, an American lawyer, but with long-term exposure to the mining sector through traders, including Glencore. He is also well exposed to the goldfields of New South Wales through directorships associated with CBH. Ray Nataraja heads up the Audit and Remuneration Committee, but has deep experience working for Rio Tinto, including as the mining executive responsible for supporting Rio's then global CEO, Sam Walsh. Ray has also worked for Goldman Sachs and is establishing a private equity infrastructure fund. And finally, my background until 6 years ago included 28 years with Rio Tinto as CEO of 3 of their operating businesses with line accountability for a number of large CapEx projects, the most notable one being stage 1 of the Oyu Tolgoi project, which was a $6 billion greenfield copper-gold porphyry development in Mongolia's Gobi Desert.
The next point that we wanted to run through is location. What attracted us to the Lachlan Fold Belt and how well endowed it is. We've been hunting porphyries in Mongolia's foremost world-class porphyry belt, the Southern Gobi. Very complementary, synergistic approach in the Lachlan Fold Belt here in New South Wales. It's Australia's foremost copper belt. It's well endowed, 100 million ounces of gold, over 24 million tonnes as estimated by Richard Shoddy at Minex Consulting. A number of significant projects there, Cadia, Northparkes, Cal, the recent discovery by Alkane at Boda, the best greenfield discovery in the region for probably 20 odd years. So when we were looking at this region, it was very complementary. Same scale of prize, Tier 1, similar porphyry and endowment setting, copper-gold porphyries, similar exploration approach and transferable skill set. But I guess to have a competitive advantage in this region is a challenge. You can't just be a number competitive advantage. Really is assisted with John's experience within the district, still being based in the region, and the experience that he's had at Cadia and other projects in this region. So Kincora started to secure a land position in this region, initially up in the north of the Junee Narromine Belt, with the Nyngan and Nevertile licenses that you can see on this image up into the northern section. Then the opportunity presented itself with RareX. In late January, we signed an MOU. End of March, that MOU was completed, and shortly thereafter, within 3 months of the MOU, we've started drilling at Trundle. The portfolio that Kincora now has and controls is a district scale portfolio, 1,700 square kilometres across 8 licenses. The RareX portfolio provides us positions in the key belts of the Macquarie Arc, except for the Condo project, which sits just outside that, but with demonstrated mineralisation. So a very good location in the key parts of the belt, and I guess it doesn't matter how close you are to these existing mines. If you're not in the same rocks or on the same belts, the prospectivity of finding another Cadia or another Northparkes is significantly diminished. So a very attractive jurisdiction and land holding that we've been able to pull together here within the key belts of the Macquarie Arc. So with that, I might pass that on to John, who's hopefully on the line, and be able to run through, I guess, the Trundle project and the target that we're currently drilling at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me, Sam?
Got you loud and clear there, John.
Okay. All right, yeah, so good morning, everyone.
Yep.
We can talk about the Trundle project. Nice slide of the broadest main street in central New South Wales there, and the Trundle Hotel. Classic Australian country town, and it's a pleasure to work there. Next slide shows... Oh, just had some terrible feedback, sorry. Yeah, this slide shows some detail on the left. We've got a magnetic image showing the Northparkes area with the Endeavour deposits, and number there E22, 27, 48 and 26. And the Trundle area we interpret, and I think it's a pretty safe interpretation, is the rifted off western portion of the Northparkes volcanic complex. And it has been known for a long time to have significant near-surface mineralisation, in particular skarn mineralisation, and skarn mineralisation of the type that's linked to porphyry deposits. There's many worldwide examples of that, starting with Cadia in the Lachlan Fold Belt and including Grasberg and Octedi in New Guinea, where you have significant skarns associated with porphyry vein deposits. So we've got the porphyry deposits there at Northparkes, and in Trundle we had skarns and previous mostly shallow drilling that had demonstrated that there were, very strong indicators of porphyry mineralisation. So going back to the 1990s, when I worked for Newcrest and we were drilling out at Cadia, we actually farmed into Trundle. Newcrest did most of the drilling and started to drill deeper, doing some core holes at Trundle Park and some deeper RC drilling, but never as deep as we drilled at Cadia, and certainly not as deep as Alkane has now demonstrated you can drill to find significant porphyries in the Lachlan Fold Belt with their deep holes at Boda. So I got pretty excited when the opportunity to go back into Trundle came along. I thought, gee, we hadn't gone far enough with the exploration there with Newcrest in the past, and here was a great opportunity to really test this area properly. There aren't many places in the Macquarie Arc of the Lachlan Fold Belt that you can do that in that aren't already held by the major miners, i.e. Newcrest, Endeavour at Cal, and Evolution at Cal, and CMOC at Northparkes. So Trundle's a great opportunity, and when you get down to looking in detail, which is the figures on the right of this slide, you have these magnetic complexes that are indicating what what we tend to call composite intrusive complexes. These can include a lot of monzonites, quartz monzonites, diorites, and within those is where you get porphyry systems. The pipes surrounded by stockwork quartz veining with gold and chalcopyrite. And people have found indications of those at shallower levels at Trundle, but never drilled deeply enough mostly to really show that up. So we're doing that now. In the very right-hand figure there, you can see two of those potential intrusive complex areas. There's a big area at the south called Trundle Park, and we've got a little box around the area we're drilling at present, but you can see there's a lot more of it there to test yet. And then up the north, there's a red box around the Bailey's Mordiallic area where we're currently drilling also. If we close in on those, our targets at Trundle Park, which are shown in that middle lower slide, are focused on testing westwards from the skarn mineralisation that's known in shallow drilling into these magnetic complexes, which also have associated IP chargeability and conductivity anomalies. And the reason we're drilling westwards is because no one's ever really looked that way before, and there were indications that some of the things did dip westwards. People in the past have very much focused on just drilling under the skarns going eastwards, and that was showing interesting indications, but not really strong. But with hole 1, we've already shown that going westward looks like a good idea. As that hole goes deeper, we go into skarn mineralisation at depth, and quite encouraging indicators that we're getting closer to porphyry intrusions. In the next figure in the middle upper part there, we're looking at the Mordiallic Bailey's area. Previous explorer Calibre had drilled a number of deep holes into the Mordiallic intrusive complex, which was the right approach. They were really trying to go deeper. I guess they just didn't have the money at that time to go on with the project. They left one hole, hole 6, which is in orange there at Mordiallic, entering into higher copper at depth, but never followed it up. And we've just followed that up with hole 2 there in red. And yeah, we're getting very exciting, encouraging results, because we're seeing not only narrow bits of skarn mineralisation, but we're seeing intrusions that are the right sort of intrusions in a composite complex to be driving porphyry mineralisation. We're starting to see increasingly intense propylitic alteration, some selvage potassic alteration, and some quartz veining, especially as we get deeper in the hole. And associated with all those features, there's certainly a hell of a lot of pyrite and quite a significant amount of chalcopyrite. So we're eagerly awaiting the assays for that hole, and also hole 1 at Trundle Park. And all that material, well, I think hole 1's all in the lab and hole 2's going in this week. Is that right, Sam?
That's right, John.
Yeah. So that's the current story at Trundle. Pretty exciting to be, well, very exciting to be drilling. I would say the hottest porphyry prospect going in the Lachlan Fold Belt at present, apart from Alkane's one.
Great. Well, thank you, John, for the rundown there on what we're up to. I should say that the rig's still turning at Bailey's, which is the 3rd hole of this program, which we've currently got proposed 6 holes. And the idea is first holes at each of the 3 targets, and then coming back to do the second holes once we've completed that. So the proposed 4th hole you can see there in the bottom middle image out to the west of where hole 1 was. So there'll be some continual news flow coming up, and obviously we're very keen to see the initial assay results come out for the first 2 holes, but obviously come back and drill the follow-up holes at these 3 targets. So I'm sure John's there, as the rest of the Kincora team is, for questions at the appropriate time.
Thanks very much, guys. Now, we'll hand to Jeremy Robinson, the Executive Director of RareX. Jeremy's going to provide a brief presentation on the company's Cummins Range Rare Earth project in WA. And while he's doing that, just a quick reminder that we're happy to take some questions. So please click on the Q&A tab on the right side of your screen and key the question in, and we'll put it to the relevant people. Please go ahead, Jeremy.
Yep, look, thanks for that, Paul, and thanks to Reed Corporate for the opportunity to present today. I think we've just made it very clear why we chose to go with Kincora Copper on this exciting project in New South Wales. It's very much the best exploration play in the belt as far as I can see, and we very much look forward to the results there. I won't dwell on the copper gold side of our business, which is what you've just heard about from Kincora Copper. I'll just swing into our rare earths business and also a small gold project we have in New South Wales as well. So in summary, what we are as a company, we're a rare earths company which are focused on the Cummins Range project in the Kimberley region of Western Australia, and we also have the exciting exposure to what's going on in the Lachlan Fold Belt as well, through our 35% free carry in many of the projects that are Kincora drilling, and also about a 9.5% equity in the company as well. We also maintain a 100% project along strike from McPhillamys, which is a very exciting gold play for us as well. So look, our capital structure, we're in a halt at the moment while we await to find out what's in this second hole at Mordialloc. But we're listed on the ASX, RAE is the code. Got a modest market cap of about 15 million at today's price. Very well credentialed board, much like Kincora's is. I'm the only exec at the moment. John Young was the founder of Pilbara Minerals, who was a very successful spodumene producer here in Western Australia, and some very well credentialed non-execs and execs as well. So our project in the Kimberley, very well got some very good infrastructure in the region. We have the Savannah Nickel Mine and also the Halls Creek Gold Mine as well. And the Port of Wyndham is a very well-serviced port for mining and infrastructure as well. So nothing that can't be built in the region, and a project that we're very keen and excited to get on and progress this year. So what we announced late last year was a modest resource there, 13 million tonnes at 1.3% TREO. But very importantly, it has contained 22.1% NdPr, with ultra-low thorium in it as well. So what we can produce from that deposit is a premium product which we can sell into a monazite export market, and we're very focused on progressing this project in the short term. The thing about rare earth deposits is they're very, very easy to mine. They come to surface, free dig, and it's where the challenge in these projects is in the processing of them. So that's where we're going to spend some time this year. So what we did late last year, we went out and did a passive seismic survey, which was to better define the weathering profile and find some deeply weathered channels where the rare earth should be accumulating, much like they do at Mount Weld and other carbonatite projects in the world. And we've been very successful in delineating these targets, where we both have mineralisation open along strike and at depth. So this was the focus of our upcoming drill program, which was scheduled to happen in April this year, but unfortunately COVID hit and locked us out of the Kimberley. But as of Friday, the Kimberley is open for business again, so we plan to be out there in July doing a modest RC drilling program, which has 4 parts to it. Firstly, to increase a portion of the inferred resource to indicated. Secondly, expand the resource, collect some met samples, and also targeting additional discoveries away from the known mineralisation there. So in short, we plan to be out there with a high impact drilling program in July, and we very much are excited to get on the ground there. So what we try to differentiate ourselves in the rare earth space, you'll be familiar with the Linus story, of course. There's a successful company now, but had quite a few near-death experiences. And a lot of that is to do with the high capex, complicated back end to the processing. What we plan to do is just sell a simple monazite concentrate through an upgrade flotation plant, and that's something that we can get off the shelf very quickly. And we think for a 250,000 tonne sort of concentrator, we should be able to build one for in the range of $30 to $40 million. And what has happened that has allowed us to do that is in the last few years, the monazite market has got a lot of interest from China as it become a net importer of product, as it's, I guess it's based in China. The environmental rules, etc., have made mining in China a lot more expensive. So it's really opened up the market for other companies to come in and supply the excess refining in China. So look, that was our Cummins Range project. We also have a nice greenfields project in Mount Weld North. This looks the same as Mount Weld in the geophysics. It sits under sand. We're just waiting for it to get granted, and we hope to be out there in the coming months to drill it. So that's a very exciting sort of a left field project for us, and we look forward to being out there shortly. So look, I touched on, I don't need to tell you all about our good projects in New South Wales again. Sam's done that very kindly for us. But probably the one project I will mention is our Orange East project, which we have retained 100%. Just a freak of timing that it didn't go into the deal with Kincora, but we're happy to have it in our own right. And this project, as you can see, sits along strike from McPhillamys, which is a 2 million ounce gold deposit owned by Regis Resources. It sits in the same sort of rocks, it has the same geochemical signature, and it has the same radiometric signature. So we're in the process of reviewing all that data, compiling our plans, and we look forward to getting out there and drilling that this year. So that'll be an exciting project for us. Will give us our own 100% project in the exciting Lachlan Fold Belt region, and should dovetail into some nice work on our other projects by Kincora. So look, that's us in a very abridged form. I don't want to take too much of your time. But what we are is a focused rare earth company with some very exciting copper gold assets as well. And we look forward to very significant news flow. Firstly, in the short term from our joint venture partner Kincora, and then from our rare earth project in the Cummins Range area in the back half of this year. So thanks very much for that. And probably throw it open to questions, I think now, Paul, is that correct?
It is, Jeremy. Thanks very much. So we will move to questions. Again, just a little reminder to click on the Q&A tab on the right side of your screen. I'll let the Kincora guys determine among themselves who's going to answer the question rather than me try to bounce it around. That might be a bit clumsy. Our first question is, can the Kincora team provide some more information on the intrusive types and alteration minerals seen at Mordialloc?
John, are you there? That might be one best tackled by you if you are.
Okay, yeah, I'm here. Well, it's very early days, and I haven't looked at the complete range of drill core from the Mordialloc hole, only the bottom part of it, so I can't really say too much at this stage. We're intersecting porphyritic rocks, quartz monzonites, potentially some more mafic intrusions, even possibly a bit of lamprifier, but it's all at a high level setting because these are narrow intrusions into the volcanic pile, which is where you want to be in a porphyry system. You want to be at that high level to get the best stockwork development over or around an intrusion. And yeah, the alteration gets to be ranging from, you know, outer probalytic to inner probalytic to some selvage potassic alteration. And the gradation in the Mordialloc hole really is that I think there's a bit of increasing quartz veining and chalcopyrite as we go deeper. And so we took the hole another 100 meters beyond, and yeah, look, you know, I actually think we should have probably continued that hole onwards, but we didn't, and we can always go back down it.
Right, thank you. And the other question that's come in from a viewer is, does the Kincora team believe that the hole at Mordialloc has been drilled into the centre of the target, or does it believe that the hole is still on the periphery of the target?
Well, I can answer that one. Like, I think we're on the periphery of a target, but that's what's exciting about it, of course. I mean, it'd be more excited if we hit the real ore body section, but we're very excited because we're in the very close part of where you might find a deposit. We can't guarantee there'll be one there, but all the right things are happening, and there's quite a big area to test around there. So we're currently thinking about where we'll drill the next hole at Mordialloc. We've been moving the rig from site to site because we like some time to get our geological interpretation sorted out amongst the various geologists, and also hopefully get some assays back, although the rig's moving a bit faster than the assay lab at present, but that's the way things usually go, actually. So yeah, we'll finish the current hole, go to Trundle Park, by which time we hope to have the assays back from Mordialloc as well. And I think very soon we'll also have the assays from the first Trundle Park hole. Possibly we'll have the gold assays before we actually get very far down the second hole, which might help us. One of the things we're not sure of at present, of course, is just what the gold levels are, because we're not seeing visible gold. You don't usually in a porphyry system, but there could be significant gold associated with the pyrite mineralisation. And of course, we can visualise the chalcopyrite, but it's often very difficult to get a really reliable visual estimation when you're looking at chalcopyrite disseminated amongst pyrite as well.
Right, okay, thanks. Our next question is, a viewer has asked, they say they've noticed a new application to the south of the Trundle Project, and they ask, is that 100% Kincora?
Yeah, I might take that one, Paul. There is a relatively large licence application immediately south of Trundle. It's adjacent to the boundary. That wasn't by Kincora. That was by FMG Resources, which has been a pretty aggressive accumulator of ground within the general region. Similarly, picked up ground in between Ning and Nevertire, and also south of Nevertire of our licences up in the north. Overpegged the Cundumble licence, but no, that ground south of Trundle isn't Kincora's. That's FMG.
Okay, thanks. Now another question. They're starting to come in thick and fast here, so we'll go through as many as you feel we have time for, guys. If you had to pick which hole looks better from the first two holes, based on how the core mineralisation looks, which would you pick? They're suggesting that might be one for Mr. Holiday.
John, you happy to take
I'll
that
answer
one?
it. I'm just had a bit of dropping out there of sound, so I'm not sure why. My internet connection's a bit fluctuating, I think. I probably would just pick the Mordialloc hole a bit ahead of the Trundle Park one, but they're both pretty encouraging and exciting, because they're obviously both drilling near to potential porphyry, systems, ore bodies. We've got all the right indications in both holes.
Okay, and a follow-up question here is a viewer asks, is $2.9 million in the bank sufficient to complete and report on the 6 planned holes, and what is the cost of drilling each hole?
Yeah, that's Paul, and one that we do get asked a fair bit. The program with 2.9 million in the bank is comfortably funded. We're expecting potentially to increase the scope of this 6-hole program, just depending on results, given what's in the existing bank balance. Of course, with all these things, it depends on what depths, what sort of composition of different drilling techniques, of what the exact sort of landing phase will be for the budget at the end of the program. But yeah, we should be relatively comfortable post this first phase 6-hole program. Probably a sort of 1.4 type cash balance Canadian at the end of the program. Obviously, the Canadian dollars has been buying a little bit more favourably on the AUD, but yeah, I guess comfortably funded at this stage. But as an exploration play. That's an obvious question. How long does this cash position last?
Another viewer asks, Sam, a question for you. Do you believe listing Kincora on the ASX would increase trading liquidity? Have there been any developments in exploring listing on the ASX?
Yeah, that is a good question. The two questions we seem to get most at the moment is when are the assay results coming back, which for the first hole should be about 4 weeks, the second hole 5 to 6 weeks, and the ASX listing. We have got a relatively consolidated and institutionalised shareholder register, so we don't enjoy the liquidity that, say, RareX does on the ASX. With assets based in Australia and a number of Australians involved in the board and management, we are starting to explore the potential of does it make sense to do an ASX listing. But the reality is at the stage that we're at, you want the money that we've got in Treasury to be going into the ground, confirming these targets are what we think they are, creating value at the asset level, and in time, sort of corporate optionality, and what's the right exchange to be at. We can make a call on that at a later date, but we're certainly understanding what the timelines and processes could be, and at the right time we can make that call.
And we've received a couple of questions worth noting regarding the likely timing of assays, etc. But I think John addressed that in part of his spiel. So we might move on from that. I think that's been addressed probably about as accurately as you could at the time. One more question. A broad-based question, so take it as you will. What sort of chance that this turns into a Cadia Mark II? I'll let you sort out who can answer that one among yourselves.
John, given you were involved with Cadia Mark I, you can probably take that one.
Yeah, look, I think all of the big deposits in the Lachlan Fold Belt are a bit different, and everyone wants to find another Cadia. So I wouldn't think anything we find will necessarily be another Cadia. It could be another Northparkes. It could be another Cowal area type deposit, because there are significant porphyries at Cowal. It's just that they're mining the epithermal gold there. We could find something like that even. But it more looks to me like what we've got at present would be something akin to Northparkes, that sort of system, than Cadia. And just on that, like there's been a lot of comparison of Boda to Cadia East. Well, I can tell you now, geologically, it looks quite different at this stage. And most geologists who know anything about the deposits in the Lachlan Fold Belt would agree with that. So, yeah, I think what we're looking for is most likely to be like the Northparkes deposits, a pipe or a broader stockwork around a larger intrusion like their, what is it, GRP 314, hopefully better grade than that, that's all. But if we can get something like an Endeavour 26, we'd be really happy.
Paul, I might just sort of clarify too the question that you mentioned before on timing of assay results. Kincora and RareX will both come out with exploration updates pretty shortly. That helps provide some clarity on exactly what we've seen, some photos of the core, timelines for assay results, and we'll follow that up with an accompanying corporate presentation with a few more details as well.
Right, thanks. Now there's a question for Jeremy. I think we have Jeremy on deck.
Yes.
Jeremy, can you give us some colour on the market for monazite? How big is the market and the demand for monazite?
Look, monazite is the primary ore feed into the Chinese refining business for rare earths. There are basically two forms of minerals you can refine, bastnasite and monazite, but monazite is what the Chinese system is set up to take. Currently, there's about 132,000 tonnes of rare earths. Of that, about 40,000 tonnes is NdPr, so it's a very large market. Currently, they source a modest amount from the mineral sands business. but they're very high in thorium. So our low thorium product will be in demand for the monazite.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. That concludes the questions, and it concludes today's presentations. Thanks very much to the Kincora team for joining us. That was a great effort. There was a lot of coordination there. We really appreciate your time to brief investors on the project. Thanks too to Jeremy for providing those updates. And thanks to everybody who joined us. I hope it was a useful session, and we look to do it again as the project and the exploration results dictate. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you all.